tough disease to live with, and it would be nice if we had a little bit more help because we're all endometriosis patients trying to figure it out blindly. We don't have any, most of us don't have any medical education, and so we're kind of going blind, but at least, we're helping each other.
Endometriosis isn't just a bad period. It's a whole body disease that impacts at least 1 in 10 females at birth. And yet, most go years, sometimes over a decade, without a diagnosis. It's misunderstood, it's under-researched, and it's often dismissed as just a reproductive issue. This podcast is a space for the real talk. The stuff we whisper about and cry about and scream about, and the small wins that we celebrate along the way. We are here to connect, to get honest, and to share what we're learning as we navigate life with endo together.
Hi, Brianna. So excited to have you here today. Really, I am so honored and touched, especially when people from the community on Facebook participate and come to this podcast. It gives me such joy to see people in real life. So thank you for being here and for being willing to share your personal story. So why don't you jump right in and tell us, who you are, what brings you here, your story with endometriosis, however little or much you want to share.
My name is Brianna. I live in Oregon on the coast, and I was diagnosed with endometriosis back in 2020, kind of by accident. I've always had really bad periods from day one. They were horrible. I'd miss school. They're really long. They're really heavy. The only thing I knew was that none of my friends were dealing with the same thing. And I would tell every doctor I came across, that, my periods are horrible. What can I do? And they'd always just say, oh, just take ibuprofen, Tylenol, Advil, over-the-counter pain relief, and birth control pills was probably the first thing that I started taking that kind of made an impact on the side effects, but they didn't really help that well. And I was still different than my other friends. And I was like, why do I still have these excruciating periods, even on these pills? And in 2020, I started having these weird pains in my abdomen. So I went to the ER, and they discovered through ultrasound that I had an ovarian cyst. And after multiple rounds of going to the ER and excruciating pain, them telling me that, oh, it'll go away on its own. It never went away on its own. It just kept growing. And at one point, they said, it looks like it's going to burst, so we're going to get you into surgery. So 2 days later, I was in surgery. Wow. And this was December of 2020, during the pandemic, the peak portion. And so I had surgery. And ended up being longer than expected because they found endometriosis. They had to take my right fallopian tube because it was strangled with endometriosis and tied in a knot. And then after that, it wasn't a good relief, but it was just kind of like, finally, I understood why I had the pains that I had had growing up and why I was different than my friends, because I was. Because, it's not normal. What do you know? So after that doctor, I still had pain. I got some relief, but then I had pain. So I was just like, what can I do? I didn't know anything about endometriosis. So I asked what I could do, and I only got birth control pills. I could have a hysterectomy, or I could take Lupron or Orilissa, which, as we all know, is the medication that throws you into menopause. And after looking up information on that, I was horrified. So I was like, what? And you can't even take it for that long, even if it does work. So it's like, how are these the only options? Right. So at the time, I myself had to go online and look for other options, and people were saying to do pelvic floor PT. So I started doing that with a not so good PT. And then I saw a endometriosis specialist after bugging my current doctor constantly what else I could do. And so I went to this first doctor and had surgery and didn't have any pain relief. So I asked what else I could do and got the same spiel. And at that point, I had been looking online and finding all sorts of things that I could do. And I was very frustrated with that surgeon for not giving me other options, not listening to me, and not even trying to help me. So then I switched doctors again, and I started going through everything that I had found. And I knew at the end I would probably have another surgery, and just I knew that was the natural progression of things. And so after that list of everything that I did, I had surgery again, still didn't have pain relief. And so I decided on a kind of a desperate measure to have a hysterectomy, mostly because my doctor thought I could have adenomyosis. And it wasn't like a lot of people, you can have an MRI scan and it'll be obvious. You know, you can see that your uterus is lumpy and inflamed, and it's really obvious that you have adenomyosis. I was kind of 50-50. So it was a very, very hard decision to make. So I finally made the decision and had it in January this year. And I did end up having adenomyosis.
Okay.
So,
Good,
yeah.
good decision to make. I can't imagine making this decision with literally blind. Like, we have no imaging, no way to do that. But having that information must feel good.
So, and that was my latest surgery in January. And now I'm looking for another doctor because I still have pain.
Oh, I'm so sorry. This is rough. I think, unfortunately, your story is pretty common and not enough talked about. We are pushing, the community in general is pushing a lot for surgery because it's the only way to get diagnosed, because we don't really have any other thing, like you said, like, how is Orlisa the only option? It's not even a real option.
Yeah. And you can't take it that long because it's so harsh on your body. So it's like, how is that an option for, a 22-year-old, or some people are getting diagnosed even younger.
Yeah. And it's like, we can only allow you to take it for like 2 years until it's becoming too damaging. And then we're just going to leave you to handle with all the damages for the rest of your life. But we not necessarily tell you about this before you start.
Yeah, exactly. They don't tell you about all the side effects. They're just like, here's a pamphlet, read it. And when you dig a little bit more, you're like, wow, okay, there's a lot of side effects that is not in here. And even the pamphlet itself, my mom and I were laughing over it because there's a lot of side effects that they talk about, and not a lot on there is positive for the brand itself. So it's like, this is a terrible pamphlet. Like, how is this their advertising? So
people are desperate enough. And it's sad to say this, but we are a desperate group of people that sometimes is being taken advantage of. And sometimes it's just, doctors really want to help, but they really don't have anything else to give us. So they're like, maybe we'll take this. Maybe I can help.
And if you're desperate enough, you're going to take something and not look into it, which, I mean, I've done stuff like that before. So I completely understand.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely learned not to take everything. I actually heard a nurse on TikTok, thank you, nurse. I can't remember your name. I'm sorry, I'm very bad with names. But she said, everything they offer, doctors are very prone to like, do. What's the next thing? Like, what's the recommended next thing? And now the fact that it's recommended doesn't mean it's necessary, doesn't mean that there is no other options. And we really do have to ask, okay, what happens if I don't? What are the other options? Are there any other things that I can try before we go this route?
Yeah.
Which I didn't know.
Well, I was asking, but I wasn't getting anything else. So there are some doctors that are just, they don't want to put in the effort to really help you. And then there's some that do, like my current doctor, even though he doesn't know how he can help me anymore. Like, he feels like I'm beyond his skill set, which I do appreciate him saying that instead of just pretending like some doctors do. At least I know. And if I ever find something that, there's like research on or whatever, I ask him about it and he'll let me try it if I want. So I appreciate that. But most doctors I've come across personally, they have not given me any other options. They're like, oh, no, these are your only options. These are best. It's like, how can this be my own? Like, I myself have found multiple, like quite a few things that I've tried.
That is amazing. I do have to say, this is like the main thing that I hear in your story. You are such a self-advocate. I don't know how you got it, but please teach us all, because like you kept on pushing, you get offered stuff and you're like, I'm going to check that. And now you're switching doctors again. And while it sounds to someone else like, okay, this might be a little crazy, it's not. I know the reality of it. And I applaud you, because for me, when I get the pushback from doctors, when I got that for years before I was diagnosed, it took me over a year every single time to get back on it. It had to get so much worse for me to justify for myself that I am allowed to advocate for myself. And really, I applaud you for not waiting and for understanding that wherever you are, it's already worse enough. It's bad enough to advocate
Yeah.
better than it is. Yeah. Okay, please tell me everything about all the stuff you found that you didn't hear from doctors.
Okay, so the two things that I think that I wish doctors would have told me to do the very first thing after I got diagnosed was to go to pelvic floor therapy. I think my PT has been so helpful. She is very thorough. You want a PT that's going to be extremely thorough, that has a lot of experience. Of course, ideally, if they have experience with endometriosis, that's ideal. But if they have a lot of experience, that's going to be good enough.
Before that, you started with a PT that wasn't so good. So like, how did you know it was not good? How did you judge that?
So when I first started pelvic floor PT, I didn't really know anything about it. I was going in completely blind. I didn't look up any information at that time. And she did a pretty thorough examination. Then it kind of became where I'd go in twice a week. I would do the same exercises every time. She was kind of just sitting there on her laptop, and I didn't get any homework at all, which I'd been to PT before for an injury on my back, and I had a ton of homework. Like there was a lot of exercises. Like you were not just going to PT twice a week, you were doing homework and exercising every day. And so when I realized that I was not going to get any homework, I went online. That's when I really started digging about like, is this right? Like, have you guys done this? I'm not getting any homework. Is this normal? Like, is it normal to get the exact same thing every single week for weeks on end? And then I discovered that no, it's not good at all. So I'm glad I kind of like trusted my gut to dig further. And so I stopped with her. And then I started back with a PT that she's not close, unfortunately. I have to travel to the city. So that's like a 4-hour round trip.
Wow.
Yeah. But she's amazing. She's been doing nothing but pelvic floor PT her entire career. She has dealt with some people with endometriosis, but not a ton. Like it's not all she does. She's also had me, because she's in a clinic with other physical therapists, she's also had me go to see them for like, since I have hip pain and I have pain radiating out my leg and all the connecting veins, she's had other PTs check on. So she brought them in and she sent me to them, for one session. She'd send me over to someone that deals with back issues just to, have them look at my back, make sure that nothing's going on there. And she's been amazing. I think finding a PT that does internal work is important, even if you don't do that, because they just understand a little bit more.
Ooh, that's a very good point. That's a very good point for those who don't feel comfortable enough. Because I've heard that a lot when I try to recommend people to go. It's like, oh, I can't imagine it. This is like too intimate. It's too scary. I can't do that. People with history of trauma, it's not easy.
Yeah.
Which I totally understand. I felt very uncomfortable the first few times I went too, before it's really an appointment, just like you go to your gyno and it's fine. So
only less painful because they're not using those horrible tools.
Yes. This is actually a really good point for those who go. Like, it's not supposed to hurt a lot. It might hurt a little bit for a second when things are being released, but if you're leaving in pain or if it's not tolerable, leave. Communicate. Make sure that you communicate, and if it continues, leave. That's not a good chance.
Yeah, it should not. Actually, most times I left PT feeling better.
Yes.
So
exactly.
That is what you should get. And your PT, they should be okay if you don't want to do internal work. There's a lot of things you can do that's not internal. For the longest time, I didn't do internal work because I was really worried about pain. So
Yeah, yeah. Also, most of the stuff that I got home, most of the exercises were not internal work. And it also still, like, I would totally feel it if I would be slacking and like 1 week I wasn't
yeah,
doing it. Next week I felt it. We were working on the same things we worked on last week because it hit again. This is actually another thing that we have to remember about pelvic floor therapy. There's a lot of repetition. There's a lot of like, oh my God, this again, like the same little thing that keeps on saying, yeah, because like my body is 36 years old and that specific part has been like this for years. It's very likely for it to happen again if I'm like driving or moving or schlepping something heavy. Like, don't freak out. That doesn't mean that it's not working. It's just normal body stuff.
exactly. And expect to work because you're going to be given a lot of homework and you should do it. If you're going to give it a go, like do it fully, do your homework, pick something fun to do at the end of every day of your exercises so it motivates you to do it.
Yeah.
But it could help you.
Yeah.
And she told me about things like using a TENS unit. She taught me how to use a TENS unit, which I found very helpful because some have 2 pads, some have 4, and you could place them anywhere. You place them around your pain and you could use it as much or as little as you want. There's no side effects. And, the only place you can't put them in is your face and your chest. That's about it. So even if I had like radiating pain, TENS unit, put it on my leg for radiating pain. If like, I know a lot of people with endometriosis have cramps that radiate down their legs, use it on that. It helps.
You know what? I'm gonna try this. I never tried this for radiating pain. I always try it like around my stomach and back. It's like amazing. Saves me every single flight. Otherwise, I can't sit for so long. But legs, I'm gonna try that. Thank you.
It helps, yeah. Even if you don't have endometriosis, you can use TENS unit. They're so helpful. Anything hurts, put it on and it helps. They're amazing. I mean, it's not perfect, but it helps.
Yeah. Well, I didn't think they invented it for us.
Just for us.
Well, sounds like your PT is really knowledgeable and really helped you. But besides her, what other resources, what other things you found?
So another thing I did was trigger point injections. Basically, they stick needles in wherever it hurts on your abdomen. If it's your whole abdomen, they're just going to stick random needles in there and inject you with a mixture of different things. Some doctors, they have their own idea of what should go in there. But ideally, you're supposed to get relief from it for 3 to 6 months. And if it works, you can do it as much as you want, or your insurance allows.
That sounds very painful, though. Is it terrible to get? Like, talk to me.
No, it's not. It's not terrible. Usually, they add a numbing agent into the injections, so when it goes in, so they use a spray to numb your skin, and then when it goes in, it's gonna numb. So it kind of feels like a bee sting. It's not pleasant, but it's not painful and it's really quick. And if it helps, it could be a game changer for you. Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. Who offered this stuff? Where do you get this? Do you have to ask for it? Were you offered? How does that work?
The endometriosis doctor offered it to me. And I'd also asked him about it and he's like, oh yeah, we can do that. And most doctors should be able to do it because it's not like they have to inject it in a very specific area under, live ultrasound or something. It's very much, where does it hurt? We're going to stick numbing agent there. It's a little different than nerve blocks where they have to go in with live imaging and it's a whole process. Like trigger point injections, as easy as giving a shot. So if they can do that, they're probably going to have trigger point injections available.
So yeah. I was thinking about the nerve blocking thing. I have done that not for pelvic pain. I would not recommend doing that without sedation personally.
I've done that too.
That was a torturous thing that I don't wish on anybody. I think the fact that they're doing it in office is not okay. Yeah, so if you're offered a nerve block, don't do that. But trigger point injection, something else, and apparently a lot more tolerable. Thank you for sharing, because I think I was offered that at some point and I was just horrified about the idea. And I was like, no, you're not getting the needles anywhere close to me.
It's intimidating because you're like, so you want me to show you where my pain is and then you're going to jab a needle in it. It's like, okay, but It's not that bad, and it's really quick. It's no different than getting a shot.
Okay. That sounds better.
Yeah,
Did it work for you? Did it help?
it didn't help me, and I did 2 rounds, but I know I've read that a lot of people find benefit from it. It does help them. So just not me. That's okay.
Keeping trying.
Yeah. And yeah, nerve blocks are another thing that I tried. And like you, I didn't do the sedation, which I would highly recommend doing because that was painful. Because you are under a live imaging and there's multiple doctors and nurses, and they have to go in and find the right nerve to block.
And they're doing it because your nerve is damaged or painful. So they're doing it to a painful nerve, which is already hurting before it's being touched. Yeah, I don't recommend that. I was under a light sedation, like Twilight thing. It was actually, I think, maybe even worse than being awake. I don't like, yeah, because I don't want to traumatize people. We were going to put a trigger warning on this episode, but basically, I wanted to ask them to stop, and I couldn't because the Twilight sedation prevented me from speaking.
Oh,
All I could do was scream no, but they didn't stop. I wanted it to stop. I couldn't take it. So yeah, don't do that without full sedation as you deserve, because they wouldn't do that to a male without sedation.
true. I only refused sedation because we ended up having to, well, we thought we were going to have to pay out of pocket. So it's like, $1,000 or something. And so I was like, how can we make it less? Because let's save some money here in case it doesn't work. And so we thought, oh, I'll just take like an anxiety medication. And that was not enough. I definitely recommend full sedation, and obviously not the Twilight one like you had, because that sounds horrible, not being able to speak.
Yeah, don't recommend. I'm sorry. The fact that people in the US have to put, their wallet into the equation of their health, it's just really not okay. What would you recommend to yourself back in 2020 if you were to just start this now, knowing everything? How can someone who's just starting do it better?
Oh, that's a good question. How can they do it better? Do your research, go online and talk to other people. Know that the doctors are not the end all be all in decisions or what they offer you. There's so much more out there. See a therapist from the very beginning because it's a hard journey and it's a process, and you're going to be frustrated and you're going to feel like a burden to others. And so it helps to have someone that you can meet with weekly to just like vent or talk through things. You can learn coping skills because anybody would get depressed and anxious and just feel like they're going crazy with this process because it's hard.
It's meant to make us crazy, I think.
And we have all these hormones and crazy things going on. It doesn't help.
Yeah. Yeah. I think actually this is such a great advice. Please don't use ChatGPT instead. That's not exactly the same. Use it if it helps you get through and advocate, but like go to a health, specialist. Go to someone who knows what they're doing for real support, because it really is. It's more than venting. I have to say, like, yeah, some weeks I feel like, oh, I'm here to vent for an hour. But like, I look at my therapist and she's like, you're going through this. This is so much. And
yeah.
It's like a great reality check for the stuff that we think is normal, everyday life. Hey, I've been doing this for years, nothing new, but it is a lot. Yeah. It's a lot. Just pain. I see it on myself, like the times, like during months that I have more pain and more symptoms and more flare-ups, I am so much of like, it affects me personally, emotionally, it affects my work, it affects everything. And I can do it on my own. So I'm so grateful to have my therapist. She's absolutely amazing, and it's an amazing resource if you can. And if you can't, there are some mental support groups that are cheaper, sometimes free. We have some support groups coming up that you can sign up for at the Yellow Hub, really understanding that this is a bit of a luxury. Not everybody can afford seeing a therapist, and not everybody has. Therapist is kind of like a scarce thing to find someone who understands pain, who understands chronic illness, who understands all of these things. It's not the waiting list could be long. So
yeah, I think the only thing that came one of the very few things that came out of the pandemic was that now you can see therapists remotely. And that helps a lot of people like myself who live in a small community, doesn't have that much resources locally. Like now I can see a therapist from the city, or yeah, it just opens up a lot of resources for me.
Never thought about it. I had never seen a therapist before COVID, so I didn't know. It was not an option. To be honest, I'm not the type of person who would go waltz into someone's office and sit down on a couch and start bitching and whining about my day. I would feel too uncomfortable. It would be very hard for me to get to a comfortable place where I can work, where Zoom just felt so natural to me. I never thought about pre-Zoom time when you actually had to walk in and like sit in the waiting room with other people.
Yep, it's different.
No, I wouldn't do it. I didn't think about it. Wow.
Yeah, so it's good that it's given people a lot more resources.
So it sounds like you're still dealing with a lot of daily pain.
I am, yes.
That's another thing that we're not talking a lot about. Like surgery is not necessarily a cure, or even for like a lot of us know it's not a cure, but most of us still hope and kind of like expect it to handle all of the pain.
Yeah.
That wasn't the case for me either. It definitely helped a lot. I had a lot of adhesions and like organs that were stuck together. So getting that unstuck was a huge help, but I'm still in daily pain and my life has changed quite a bit. Any like daily rituals, weekly, something that you do on a regular basis that helps you cope and like keep going?
Yes. I use daily pain medication.
Okay.
Which does help a lot. Unfortunately, I still have a lot of breakthrough pain and I still have those flares that I don't know how they work or where they come from, but we all apparently have them.
Serve the pain.
For me, I know a lot of people use heat for pain, like heating pads. I use those too, to the point of, burning my skin like we all do. But I also found that ice was helpful for like the stabby, sharp pains. And so I use ice packs. I have an ice bath that I go into every day. I have the river that I go into. The ice bath is just useful for in the middle of the night when I can't really, safely go swim in the river. And those I found really helpful. Anytime I share ice, everybody runs or like, oh, that's so cold. It's like, yes, but it really helps.
You mentioned like middle of the night. You would wake up or like be in pain and just go in for a few seconds or minutes.
Yeah, and it helps because it just numbs everything.
I would never think it's like cold makes my pain worse just in general with like winter. I live in Cleveland, so it gets really cold in here. But I mean, we're not immersed in an ice tub here, so maybe this level of cold is actually going to be good. I kind of went with
It melts everything, and I actually found that cold helped by accident because one summer, maybe like 2 summers ago, it was a really hot day. I decided I'm going to go swim in the river. Since I'm near the Pacific Ocean, the river's going to be really cold, and it was. But then I also realized that this helps pain. Like pain is decreased. So I just started going every day and I haven't stopped. But it was total accidental find and it helps so much because it numbs the pain. And yes, having my legs and feet numb is unnecessary, but kind of have to do it. They're attached. But it helps. And a couple months ago, I got the ice bath, which has a machine that basically it rotates water to keep it cold. It's so helpful. I can decide what temperature I want it to be and stay at and just plug it in. And anytime I want to go in it, day or night, I can use it. And it's very helpful.
The ideal support system for endo patients, trying to avoid all the repeated surgeries and heartbreak. What would that look like?
That's a good question. I think I'd want more information geared towards patients to be available. I'd want a list of things that you can try either prior to surgery, or if you decide that I don't want to deal with this, I just want to have surgery, you can have surgery. But I want more options to be available. I want every doctor to know, like, even if they don't want to take the time, just hand us a list. We can deal with it.
Yeah.
Because being forced to rely on other patients with endometriosis to help guide you through this journey is really challenging because you don't know that at first. You think, oh, this doctor, they're a doctor. Of course they know everything. They're going to give me the best options and answers. And who am I to challenge that? But they don't have all the answers because we just don't know that many answers from about endometriosis. So having more resources available would be helpful.
Yeah.
I think I've found that the communities online through, Facebook, Reddit, whatever, have been so vital to me and so helpful that I don't know. I think that that's so important. And I almost wish doctors would be like, here's how you can get support. And I don't know, that's
Yeah.
dreamland.
That is very true. I had one doctor my entire life who at some point told me, oh, have you ever heard of this and this and this? Go home and Google it and look for a support group. Once in
Well,
dozens of doctors that I've seen, which shocked me. I would keep telling this story because I was so shocked the first time doctor told me to Google something instead of not to Google. Before my endometriosis surgery, I was told not to Google it because it would scare me and I was a good patient and I haven't Googled it. And I went into my surgery knowing absolutely nothing. I was very lucky. I happened to have surgery with a specialist who knew what she's doing, but could it very much not be that case, which is
yeah,
unfortunately the story for so many people who just like me, they don't know, they don't know.
exactly. My first surgery, I mean, yes, it was not expected to find anything, but she wasn't a specialist and she still removed some endometriosis. I'm pretty sure she used, ablation, and I know she didn't get all of it, but yeah, a lot of people are just seeing their standard OBGYN and they don't they don't know like, oh, we should probably see someone that actually knows what they're doing. At least
Yeah.
a little bit.
Sometimes I see people like chasing their OBGYN, please do my surgery. And they like don't want to do it because it's not responsible for them to do it. And like, no, but I want you to do it. No, you don't want them to do it.
No, if they say they can't do it, don't push them.
Yeah, yeah. I think your advice was you phrased it so well before. Like, if they are not comfortable, they're gonna tell you, like, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not comfortable doing this. And that is not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, hopefully following that is here is someone else who could potentially help you and like a list someone else's, which is not always the case. But it's also it's important to remember that sometimes doctors would love to give us this kind of list, but their hospital policies and stuff not allowing them to refer outside of the hospital. So sometimes they just can't do that even if they really, really want to, and sometimes they don't want to. They just want to be done.
I call some doctors hope thieves because they come across to me as very lazy. I feel like everybody gets the answer. Birth control pills, hysterectomy, and to me, I'm just like, that's such a lazy answer. There's so many things you could do. Diet, PT,
Yeah.
massage, acupuncture. There's so many things you can do. So it's very frustrating when you see a doctor and they just give you these options. And even if you push for more, like, well, you should try these first. Like,
Really?
what? The last doctor I saw at a very prominent hospital, well known worldwide, that's all I'll say. I went there to see an endometriosis doctor, and all she told me was basically retry what I had already done. Retry PT, retry a very specific birth control pill that I had already tried. And when I pushed for more, I'm like, okay, well, I did try these for very lengthy amounts of time. What else can I do? She wouldn't give me anything.
I'm
It was
sorry.
so frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The systematic problem. I wonder how long it's going to take. I do see a difference with like the new generation of doctors, the younger. I would say those graduated in the past 7 to 10 years. It's a little different, because maybe because they're still young and haven't been bruised by the system as much. Just different generation. They really focus more on the patients and like quality of life, not just life-threatening situations, which is a common theme among doctors. Like, hey, I'm gonna like keep you out of the hospital and like out of the grave, but If your life is not going to be great, well, this is your life. What can we do about it? So yeah,
Exactly.
there's a lot that can be done about it, and it's time it would be offered more and more in the regular doctor's appointments in the offices that we visit so much, so many times.
Yeah, it's a tough disease to live with, and it would be nice if we had a little bit more help
Yeah.
because we're all endometriosis patients trying to figure it out blindly. We don't have any, most of us don't have any medical education, and so we're kind of going blind, but at least, we're helping each other.
Well, until that happens, the Yellow Hub is going to be here for everybody else. And kind of like Hinge, I am definitely building this thing and adding content in order to hopefully delete it one day when you become obsolete and like everybody already knows. And it's like, okay, why do we need you? Hopefully we will get there very soon.
Great dream. The dream. We won't need it anymore. Everybody knows everything. So common.
Yeah,
One day.
Slowly getting there. I feel like nowadays it's like when I say I have endometriosis, more people understand what it is and like less people need explanation. They're like, oh, I never heard of this. But I still hear so many women also. Like I have found patients that way where like I start talking about it and they're like, what is this? And I'm like, very painful periods, this, and this. And she's like, tell me more. I think, during the conversation, I'm like, sweetheart, you should really see a doctor. I think there's something going on. And she never, ever heard of it before. Never. She's
Wow.
suffering for so many years and no one ever stopped to tell her.
Yeah, I've come across a lot of people that don't know what it is. And even when I was in the ER for pain one time, the head of the ER, she asked, why haven't you had a hysterectomy? Because she still thinks there are still doctors that believe that it is a cure. And it's like, I had to tell her that's not a cure for endometriosis. There is no cure. And that was very shocking to me. So I'm like, you had this ER and you don't even know. Like, what? Wow.
Fortunately, the reason it is because on the OBGYN guidelines, it is officially there. Still there, even though we know for so many years that it's not a cure. Really, it's like do an excision and do this and do this and do this. If nothing helps, hysterectomy. It's still there, even though we know this is like not helpful at all.
Wild.
Any last words?
Trust your gut.
I love that.
There's been many instances where I've trusted my gut and was glad I did. If something doesn't feel right, look into it. Figure out why. And yeah, don't give up.
Thank you so much, Brianna. It was so lovely to have you today. And thank you for all the great tips. I'm sure so many people are going to take a lot from it and hopefully we'll help even just one patient.
Hopefully. Thank you.